Welcome everybody to Dead Serious AutoCAD line types. My name is Jesse Evans, and what we'll be doing today, we'll be talking about how to make custom line types in AutoCAD. A little bit about the workflow here. Real easy to do this. We're going to be on the Express tools. A lot of people don't know that these tools exist. All right. And a couple of the features that we have on the Express tools, we could explode text. All right. So if we're trying to put text inside of a line type, right, there's some that come out of the box. You have a gas line in there, there's a G in there, different things like that. You could modify those. This process is going to be a little bit different. I'm not going to be dealing with the spaces and the different things in that text file. I'm going to be dealing with the shape file. All right. But if you're going to put text into a line type, you have to explode the text. I'll show you where that tool's at. Next, after we have primitive objects, you need primitive objects to make shapes, right? We're going to make the shape itself, right? We're going to export a shape file, an SHP, and that'll hold all of our geometry inside of it. The major thing with the shape file, if you do not use the correct size, your shape will be a little modified when you bring it back in. So we'll run through an example there. I'll make something that the size is too small. It won't be proper. We'll bring it back in. It won't work, and then we'll modify that. And the last piece of the process here, we're going to be making the line types. Okay, you're probably all familiar with the AutoCAD.lin file, the line type file, right? This is where you would navigate to go get lines that you don't have in there currently. You know, different dashed patterns, different hidden patterns, center line types, different things like that. Again, we'll be making one of those, but it'll be for our custom line type. Okay, and like I mentioned earlier, shapefile must have primitive objects. All right, you cannot put hatch patterns into a shape. You cannot put default text into a shape. You can't put different things, different properties like a color. Okay, so what we're going to do, we're going to review these inside of AutoCAD here. So here I am. I'm actually in Civil 3D, but it makes no difference. I'm in AutoCAD. These are all AutoCAD pieces here. And I'm on the Express Tools tab. Okay, and the first thing that I want to do, I want to map out my line type. Okay, so I just have some green and red text here on the screen. It's just telling me, you know, this is my line, right? It's very simple. It's a polyline. And this is how far I want that gap between the lines. And then I have some kind of text in here. All right. Now, if I'm going to create it from text, I have to use this command explode. Okay, this is on the Express tools, and it's a special function that's going to interact with text. All right, let me show you what I mean. Well, first off, I'm going to change this, right? I'm going to change it to maybe I have some type of water line, and maybe it's dead or something like that. It's abandoned, right? It's no longer in use out in the fields, right? So I'll type in what I want, and I click on this, and I can start to see this is M text. Okay. So I go back over to my Home tab, my Modify panel, and I find my Explode command. I explode my text. Oh, let me start that up. I select it. Well, looks like I exploded it once, right? I exploded from M text to single line text or D text, but I cannot explode it anymore. This command does not notice that anymore. And like I mentioned a little bit earlier, I cannot put text inside of a shapefile. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to come over to my Modify Text dropdown, and I'm going to use this explode command here. I'm going to select the text that I want, and then I'll hit enter. Okay. What that does, it breaks this down into 2D polylines. If you take a look, right, everything, it's all individual pieces. And now, since they're line work, we can make a shape from it. Okay, so there's my explode text right there. And the next portion that we're going to talk about is over here underneath the Tools dropdown. If I come over to Tools and I look through, there's two tools in here that we'll be working with. All right, I have this one called Make Shape. That's what I'm going to run right now. I'm going to make a shape out of that word dead. So I'll click. It opens up, Windows dialog box. I'm just going to save this. I'm going to save it to my desktop. Now, this would be important for you to make sure you save it in the correct folder. If you're working off a network and multiple people are going to share these line types that you're generating, you better put this on the server somewhere, and then in your options location, you have to put a new support path in there. If it's only for your local workstation, you could just put these files in the support folder, and AutoCAD will find them automatically. Okay? But what it does, it starts in SHP, and again, I'm just going to call it dead. I'm going to remember this name because I'm going to import this in a second. So I'll say save. And everything here is command line driven. So it comes back and asks me for a name. I'm going to say dead again. Hit enter. Resolution. Okay, this is where it gets a little bit tricky if things are a lot larger. Now this one's fairly simple. There's not that much, so 128 bits is going to hold this particular piece. I'm going to leave 128. I'll hit enter. Where's my insertion point? Just like a block, when I insert this back into the drawing, where's it going to be attached to? Since I have some nice geometry already, I'm going to say that this point right here is my insertion point. And then it wants us to select our objects. So I'll go right over the top, get all my pieces there, and I'll hit enter. All right. One thing to point out here, at the command line, notice what it's telling you. It's telling you use the shape command to place these back in your drawing. So I'm going to delete this. Not that. I want to delete this. And now I'm going to type in shape. Enter. It's going to ask me for the shape name. I called it dead. Right? It's attached at that insertion point. I'm going to attach it right back. Enter for all ones for the rotation and the scale. And there we go. The same exact piece, but now it's sort of like a block, it almost seems like, but it's a shape file. And we could check that over in the properties box. It's a shape. Okay. And the last piece that we want to go through, we want to create a lin file or a line type, right? So I'm going to say make a line type. Again, it's going to put me somewhere. I'm going to put it on my desktop again. And again, I'll just call this dead. And I'll say save. Enter line type name. Again, I keep this very simple. You can get more creative. You can call it abandoned water lines, something like that. I'm just keep saying dead here. I'll hit enter. And a line type description again. Now, these green and red texts on the screen, right? I had this laid out for this specific reason right now. At the command line, it's asking me for a starting point of the definition. This is how it's going to know how to repeat. What's the spacing between this repeat, right? So I'm going to come over and I'm going to snap to my endpoint up here. Right? That's my starting point. And where's my ending point? Well, I'm just going to come right over to this endpoint over here. Snap to that. So it knows the length of it, and now it wants to know what objects do you want to repeat inside of this line type. I'm going to say this shape and this line. I'll hit enter. And there we go. We're going to have a new line type. Right? So if I make a polyline or a line, any type, right, I'll put ortho on here. And I change the line type. Just have one called dead. Right? We can start to see exactly what we want. Right? We can add an arc to this, whatever we want to do. Right? So pretty neat, pretty easy, straightforward. Now the next one here, right? I'm not going to use text. I'm going to use some kind of symbol. Okay, so this is nothing more, again, just like I said, it's going to be AutoCAD primitives. So I have just LineWorks here, all right? And I'm going to finish this up. I'm going to put a couple more circles on the outside. And one more. Right. So I have my object there, and I want to add some more detail to this, so I'll put a hatch pattern in here. And those pieces. I'm going to make the hatch fancy there, and maybe I'll do, let's see what 10 looks like. Maybe I'll do 15. Right. Now, like I said earlier, I cannot put hatch patterns into my shape. So I'm going to explode this, right? This time I am just using the simple AutoCAD explode command, and all that does, it breaks it down into primitive objects. So again, now I'm ready to make my shape. And let's say this is some kind of steel symbol, right? So I'll make shape, right? I'll give it a name here. Save, right? Shape name, again, I'm pretty boring, so I just keep it simple. 128. That's fine right now. Let's see what we got. Insertion point. Again, I want to be attached to something, and I'm going to select all my pieces here. Now, on this particular one, right, I'm going to do something a little bit different. Okay, I'm going to use the shape command, and I'm going to reload this in. Oh, what happened? Well, remember I said that the resolution, if you don't put the resolution high enough, and the default's 128, it may not have enough memory to store your piece. Okay? And with all that hatch pattern in there, all those lines that it has to remember, it didn't work. It didn't work. It got to a point and it was done. So I go, well, I have to try to remake this again. All right? So one more time here. Make a shape. Let's say -1. I'm going to change this, right? I'm going to say 4096. Right? Again, same process here. And I'll select all my pieces. Okay. I'll give it another test. Now that I made that shape a lot larger, it's working out. It's what I actually want. I'll run through the last portion here of making the shape and test it out. So move this. Nope, it's a shape file. I need to just handle here. Real easy. Make a new line type. Start point, end point, my objects. I do a test. Line type. And there we go. All right, again, just a new function with the polyline here. You could hover over this center grip, convert this to an arc, and just trying to show you that that's going to bend and move along with that line as it goes across. All right. Now, I have one more here that I just want to point out. All right. Another thing that you could do, you could actually load up shape files, and it'll actually pull in different pieces from different locations, right? So I'm going to say, I'm going to bring in Jerry here, and I'm going to put him on the very first one. Again, it's asking me for scale. I just keep loading these shapes. I made the shapes exactly the way we did previously. All right, so I have Phil. I'm going to place him over here on the node. And last one here for the shape. Now, some of these pieces here, I just got some markers in here. I'm just cleaning up some of these little pieces. Don't want them in the way, right? So now I have all the objects that I want to make my line type from, right? And if you remember, these guys up here, they had a portion of a line. You don't even need to have that, right? I just have 4 different shapes coming across, right? So again, I'm going to run the line type one more time. Make line type. I'll just say GD, right? GD. Starting point, right? I have my little marker there. End point of that. Ending point. I have my line over here ready for myself. Right? What objects? 1, 2, 3, 4 shape files. I'll hit enter. And let's test it out, right? I'll make a circle over here maybe. Line type. And there we go. All right. So, I can make this larger, smaller, make whatever I want. I can make a polyline. Add an arc to it. Come on. Change line type. And there you go. All right. So let me do a quick recap here. What did we do? Well, we reviewed the line type express tools. Basically 3. The first one there, if you have a fairly simple line type, you have to put text in a line type. Draw the text using just the regular mtext command. Use the explode text tool, and then it'll break it down into primitive objects for you. Making the shapes, right? You can make a shape from anything. You can make it from just polylines, lines, whatever. The major thing when you make the shape size. Okay, by default it's 128. You may get some distortion there and may not be able to hold all the objects. You may have to change or increase that shape size. Okay, and then making the line type. I would say the most important thing about making the line type here, you have to know your start and end and your spacing before you actually run the tool. It's going to ask you that. It's going to ask you for the starting point, the ending point, and then select your objects. All right, and again, just to mention, no hatches, no text, and no properties. You can't have special colors in there. Thanks again. Have a good day.